Hey students, it's Amanda Burbidge, your Humanities 246 faculty member. Just wanted to give you some quick tips on the debate analysis before you submit your final revised version. I took a few screenshots from student papers, and I want to give this disclaimer. If I have your paper in here, I've de-identified it, and it is just something that was at my fingertips and I thought really illustrated the point that I wanted to make. It's not included to give you a compliment, and it's not included to make you feel bad. I just wanted to, I think, provide some information for everyone to benefit from. All right, so now that the disclaimer is out of the way, let's get to the really important parts. I pulled this screenshot because this student did a good job of turning away from summary into analysis. And so summary is an important part of the debate analysis, but what's more important is the time that you spend analyzing what a speaker says, why he or she says it, how they say it, and whether or not that helps them with their argument or not. And so this student made an attempt at doing that, so I wanted to highlight that. Wanted to give you a few examples of other ways you could do it, and you can read these on the screen. But basically, you would identify where maybe one side is using a specific word, whereas the other side is using a different word, and how the use of that word compels the listener to think or feel a certain way. For example, if I call an athlete's time on a court work, then I'm automatically kind of attributing a fee for service type context onto what they're doing. So then that helps my argument that an athlete should be paid. But if I talk about the athlete's time on a court as leisurely or entertaining or a pursuit of passion, then those kinds of phrases don't really automatically have that financial component like work does. And so by me using those phrases, I am framing my side of the debate, saying that maybe athletes ought not to get paid. And I also illustrated a few other examples. There are many ways that you can do this, but you can see kind of taking apart what the speaker did and how you felt about it and how you maintained kind of that critical stance as you're analyzing the sides of the debate, which debates are meant to persuade. So how did you kind of recognize the strategies that those persuasive speakers were using, and how did you guard yourself against being persuaded by the wrong things while allowing yourself to be persuaded by the right things? It's a really complicated task. So that's why this debate analysis has so many layers. Here's an example of something that I saw on a lot of papers. In the first highlight, you'll see the student says that, and I'm summarizing here, that student athletes with scholarships don't have to stress about paying for anything. Well, this is a sweeping claim because it's not entirely true that they don't have to stress about paying for anything. They do have to stress about paying for some things, but it's just that they don't have to stress about paying for tuition specifically, perhaps. So we don't want to be so broad with our statement that they don't have to pay for anything or stress about anything. And there were lots of sweeping claims in a lot of student papers, and I did point that out frequently. So you want to go back through and make sure that you're not overgeneralizing your statements. I highlighted the word big bucks because that's definitely a way that we would say a phrase like that, but we wouldn't want to write that in an essay. And the reason why is because, as you know from Unit 4, we have different types of talking, right? We have slang, jargon, dialect, and in academic writing, we're looking for standard American English. So big bucks is more of a slang word, whereas well compensated or even just paid large amounts, large sums of money are paid. There's lots of ways you could say it, but big bucks is more like a way we talk, not the way we write. And I frequently put that into a number of student papers about this is something more you say, not something you write. And I often would make suggestions on how you might repair that. And then finally, contractions. In essay writing, you want to spell out your words, not contract them. So instead of saying won't, you would say like will not. And you can also see on the previous lines, there's doesn't for does not and wouldn't for would not. I didn't highlight it every single time because it's your responsibility to take my feedback and the feedback of your peer and review your own paper entirely. If someone pointed out a mistake on one page, you should check all pages for that mistake. Here's an example of someone who could have included an in-text citation. And the reason you want to do that is because you're referring your reader back to the original source so that he or she can investigate your own accuracy, reconsider the claim in light of the information you're presenting, and kind of follow the thought back just to get a better sense of the context. So in this case, I've provided two examples down below. The first example where it says ... crisis is over, parentheses, the world would be better without religion, comma, and then there's a timestamp, end parentheses, period. That's how you do an in-text citation. And I've provided links for examples for this in numerous places in your paper, as well as in multiple announcements, and it's in the information literacy module. So you'll notice that the period is on the outside of the parentheses. You'll notice that there's a timestamp there because I'm suggesting that in this fake example, this phrase was uttered during minute number 27, second number 30. And anything you do in an in-text citation, you want to also do in the bibliography. So the bibliography has a very specific formatting. It's centered, it's double-spaced, it's hanging indented, and then each part of the video goes into a certain spot in the citation. So the example I'm showing on the screen, some of the information is made up, but it's accurately formatted, with the exception of the double space, which you just can't really see good on a PowerPoint. This is a good example of where the student was summarizing and then took a really good deep turn into analyzing what the panelist was saying. So this student author made a good point about capitalizing on people's strong feelings about President Trump and how those feelings might be clouding their judgment, and how this panelist went on to kind of basically leverage that or to counteract that, and how certain people would be predisposed perhaps to receiving and being persuaded by that information than others. So that was a good example, and I just wanted more of that. I think there's so many great things that you can take out of this debate analysis assignment, and what I'm really looking for is that second layer of analysis, not just summary. So I'm wrapping up here with a few strategies you might use in order to make sure you're getting enough analysis. So if you're doing a lot of this person said this person said that, and listing the arguments, then you might be in the summary category. You want to be in the analysis category. Here are a few examples of ways that you can check if you're in the analysis category or not. So when you identify that a speaker is basically presenting a problem just in one way, that's an argumentation strategy, right? So I am framing the problem this way. Any other way that the problem is framed is not relevant. It's not adequate. And you know from Unit 2 that the way that you look at a problem really shapes the way that you solve a problem. So the debate panelists very well may be trying to shape a problem in a certain way just so you can see the solution in a certain way. Again, they might be solving a problem in one way, but you also remember from Unit 2 that there were 15 different strategies for problem solving. They may make sweeping and general claims themselves. And take a look at Unit 4. How much pathos, ethos, and logos are they relying on in their persuasion strategies and when they're making their arguments? How are they using language to either tamper down the effects of the other person's persuasive speech or to bolster their own persuasive efforts? And how are they establishing credibility? What are they saying about themselves? What are they saying about the other speakers? And how are they bringing their credibility to their benefit? Are they maximizing that, or are they minimizing that? And there are so many other argumentation and persuasion strategies, but these were just some of the most common ones that I recalled from watching these debates myself. And I definitely saw a lot of students pointing out some really good argumentation and persuasion strategies that panelists were using. So keep that up, keep doing that, and keep doing a great job. I look forward to seeing these final papers very soon. And if you have any questions or need any assistance, You know how to get in touch with me.